What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Adventures Tower. And it was only a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we have leaks for episodes 2 through 4 of the Moon Knight show. Now, here's the deal. Obviously, a spoiler warning. I'm not going to go beat by beat on all the different things that are being said out there. You can go check that stuff out if you would like. But there are two main things in the leak that I want to discuss. The change from the comics for the Mr. Knight character and the big twist that will happen in episode 4. And you might be like, yo, whoa, why are you going into the big twist? Because I think the big twist doesn't actually explain what's going on. Like, it's not self-evident as to what is happening, and there will still be a lot of intrigue even when you watch that episode, and we'll be looking for little clues as to what is happening. And nobody has seen episodes 5 and 6, at least not a lot of the press or whatever. So even then, episodes 5 and 6 are still a huge mystery to us. So let's start with the Mr. Knight character. Now, in the comic books, Mr. Knight is a persona that is created during the Warren Ellis run of the comic book when he comes back to New York. Now, the police officers in one of the first issues of that comic book are explaining that this is Mr. Knight, and one of the sort of deputies or whatever is like, yo, but that's Moon Knight. And the guy says, no, if that were Moon Knight, I have to follow a very special set of protocols and apprehend him. I'd have to take this dude to jail. So no, that's not Moon Knight. You're crazy. This is Mr. Knight. And that's really all the explanation that we get for the Mr. Knight character. Now, he does a ton of fun stuff in the comics moving forward from that, but we knew there was going to be a change for this in the show, and actually many fans already guessed what this would be. And according to the reports out there, the Mr. Knight persona in the show is going to be when the character of Stephen Grant is tapping into the powers of Khonshu or utilizing the suit to be a superhero. Basically, when the character of Mark Spector taps into the power of Khonshu, he utilizes the crazy Moon Knight suit, and that thing has all sorts of powers and abilities. But when Steven does it, he's gonna look like Mr. Knight. Apparently, there's even a quip in the show where the Khonshu character is telling Steven to use the suit, use the power of the suit, and then Stephen Grant does it, and he looks like Mr. Knight. He says something quippy like, you know, you said do a suit or whatever. Now, at face value, you might not really see why fans would have a problem with that, but let's go a little bit further to explain why some of the reviewers out there are saying that people may take issue with this. Apparently, the character of Mr. Knight is just simply not good at combat at all and is going to get whooped on, defeated, stabbed, and just not be a very good superhero. And then there will be moments like what we've even seen in the trailers when the Mr. Knight persona transforms into the Moon Knight persona, seemingly when Steven gives control of the body back over to Mark Spector. Now, before we get too much further into this, I don't mind this at all. I think it's hilarious, and it's actually more interesting than what they do with the Mr. Knight persona in the comic books. I mean, Mr. Knight in the comic books looks awesome, and it's super cool to see him beating up baddies. And so it's a little bit of a shame that we won't see the Mr. Knight persona like beating up people with a baton, doing crazy stuff, and then getting blood all over his white suit, at least initially. But it also makes a lot of sense for the character and what they're building with the MC version of the Moon Knight character. I mean, Stephen Grant is definitely not a mercenary. He's definitely not good at combat or even really strategy. Now, he knows a lot about Egypt, and I think there could be an even crazier twist going on with the Stephen Grant persona within the Mark Spector body. But nonetheless, I actually think it could be really funny and interesting to see him in almost like a Deadpool version. Like, imagine if Deadpool wasn't actually good at being a mercenary, like that kind of an attitude with the Mr. Knight suit. I'm here for it, and I'm going to judge it, of course, when I actually see it in the show, but just at face value, I'm not that upset. You let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. But now let's get into the other big thing that's in the leaks, and this one's weird, man. It's going to be interesting to see how fans feel about this one, but in episode 4, apparently the entire show is going to shift and be taking place in a mental institution, much like the Jeff Lemire run, okay? And if you're not familiar with this, the Jeff Lemire run was basically this big telling of Moon Knight after events in San Francisco when he has a breakdown, but he's just in a mental institution, and they're trying to seemingly convince him that all of the things that he believes happened to him as Moon Knight and as Mark Spector were all a lie. And I'm really looking forward to this. Apparently, even the Ethan Hawke character is there as a therapist or something. in that scene. And so for me, this totally fits within the context of the Moon Knight character. Now, I've seen some people say like they don't know how this is going to end up making any sense at all for the show, because you have all of this stuff going on in episodes 1 through 4, and then all of a sudden you're basically saying that maybe none of that was real. But I think that the choice to do it at a later episode in the series is just going to explain to us as the audience that that is what's not real. Not all the stuff that we're going through right now, but that mental facility thing is going to be not real. And I honestly feel like through solving that problem, you're going to bring the Stephen Grant and Mark Spector character together in a more interesting and important way. And when we get into episodes 5 and 6, those characters will be a little bit more in sync together, and we'll get more of a context for like what's actually going on with these gods and with what is happening with this story. However, it is possible, as crazy as it sounds, that they will take this route of making the first few episodes not actually happening. Maybe a lot of that stuff is just happening in Stephen and Mark's mind, which would be like really bold and really crazy. And I'm just not sure how fans would feel about it. But Moon Knight is already shaping up to be a show that's so weird that I don't know that it'll actually be able to break through into the mainstream popularity in ways that other Marvel and Star Wars shows have. I mean, just as of recording this video right now, I have not seen a social media pop for Moon Knight in the way that I've seen for many other Marvel shows. And that personally doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the show, but it is a data point. It is something to consider when thinking about how the show is landing with fans. Ultimately, this stuff to me seems really intriguing, and I'm really interested to see how it actually plays out on screen. What is the Mr. Knight character actually going to be like? Is it a little too much? Is he just way too soft and he's getting beat up all the time? Or do we think that's a character that could eventually do some really cool stuff on screen, get into some action, or have a tool set that becomes useful? I mean, I think at this point we're all kind of rooting for Stephen Grant and now the Mr. Knight character to like get some W's, man. Like, do something. And the twist in episode 4 seems par for the course for the Moon Knight character. It's a level of intrigue that I think the show ultimately needed to go to, and I'm super excited to see how it plays out. How crazy is it going to seem? Do we question all of the episodes before, or are we pretty sure that that episode and the whole institution thing is fake? And then as a whole audience, including the people that have seen episodes 1 through 4, will all be very interested in what's going to happen in episode 5 and then what could happen in episode 6. I assume mind-blowing stuff is going to be going on in those 2 episodes, and I think we'll understand like whether or not Mark Spector, Moon Knight, Stephen Grant, and Mr. Knight could ever actually play with other characters in the MCU, which ultimately I think they will, and you need to get to that point as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me know what you think about the crazy leaks. Are you trepidatious? Are you excited about some of this stuff? Let me know your thoughts. Like this video if you liked it. It does help us out in that crazy YouTube algorithm. And I hope wherever this video finds you at, that you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.